All right, grasshoppers. It is it's Monday morning, almost 11:30. And does he have a shirt on? We can't even tell if he has a shirt on or not. Now he's so brown. It's like a brown skin tight shirt. No, look at the flex there. Look at him. Yeah, 66 years old, ripped like a desert.
No, 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. You're 66.
Yeah. No, I'll be July 31. I'll be 66.
Good deal. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it's good. Really good. Excellent.
Yeah.
I was in the city yesterday for a little meeting. I was at Bryant Park, had lunch there. Beautiful day. Oh man, the city
weather
was awesome. Do you think everything's kind of back to normal now pertaining to the pandemic? Like the city seemed like it was just same old New York City. Yesterday.
Yeah, but they're starting to talk about masking again because it's they're just not going to stop with this. I mean, I understand there's certain population of people that really need to be careful, but it's pretty clear now that the worst is over. At least we think, hope it is. And
but they're talking about another variant, another strain or something.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that really frustrates me. We know what the high risk groups are, and it was people over 80. And if they were younger than 80, they were morbidly obese. Not once has Fauci, Biden, Trump, I don't care who it is, said, hey, people, we see that like 90% of these deaths, the factor was obesity. They never speak to that. That if you're, but it's frustrating.
Well, and you and I have discussed this before. Obesity and diabetes is one of our our major health issue in this country.
No question.
And it's an issue that can be solved too. Not all of it. I'm sure some people have diabetes that not related to, but it's our diet. Like you've taught me a lot about, the corn syrup and all that kind of stuff. Foods.
Last night I made mahi mahi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I made it. Pardon?
Sear? Did you sear the tuna?
I baked it actually.
Oh.
Yeah, and you don't bake it long because it's And then I made like an Asian kind of. I made fried rice last night, like just
nice
with veggies and stuff like that. But thing is, I was trying to find like something a little bit on the fish, like an Asian stuff, and it's so difficult to find something that doesn't have high fructose corn syrup in it. It's nearly impossible.
Oh yeah.
But I was lucky. I did. I did find one.
So I like to sit in my back deck and have my tequila at night, and I mix it with lemonade. I have been using this organic lemonade that I got from Costco, but I started realizing, man, there's a lot of sugar in this stuff. Yeah. Like even like cranberry juice or something that people use with their cocktails. I looked at what's Crystal Light? It's got a lot of chemicals in it, though, right?
Yes. I mean, look, Tom, if you're just having one or two cocktails and a little sugar, it's not the end of the world. It's the people that live on this stuff 24/7 is the problem. And it's really like if you go through your cabinet, and I'm not saying you, but most people, if they go through the cabinet and just look at your condiments, the first or second ingredient is either water or high fructose corn syrup. Yeah. And that's a major factor. And if you look at when corn syrup was first introduced into the American diet, there's a direct correlation to the obesity rate in this country.
I know.
And it's
it's laziness too, right? It's cheaper for the company. Like I started making my own ketchup. Yeah. Because of you telling me about that, I started looking at I didn't realize ketchup was that bad for you. So I make my own ketchup. It's just I
saw that.
Yeah. It's like to get the sweetness, I get the roasted peppers, roasted tomatoes. I roast my garlic. I saute up my onions, add cilantro, whatever I want, some vinegar, any kind of vinegar you want to put in, or not. Put it in so you make it taste what you want. So it's just all vegetables. I have my ketchup now. Yeah. So it's and it gets the sweetness from roasting them. So yeah.
I think if you just use basic ingredients and find a couple, like I have this wood-fired garlic powder. It's tremendous. You don't need a lot, but as per usual with my luck, it's no, you can't get it anymore. So I'm gonna have to, But yeah, I mean, so the other night, we eat red meat once or twice a week, probably usually once, and I made filet mignon, and I put some of that on there, a little olive oil, and a little panko, and I made it in the saute pan. It was tremendous.
Nice.
Yeah, really good.
It's true too. I think of my lemonade now. Barry actually mentioned Barry Shelley, our friend, mentioned that I've got a juicer. I should make my own juice. I actually have one of those hand squeezers for the lemonade too. I'm gonna start doing that. Just make my own lemonade and put that monk fruit sweetener in there if I want to sweeten.
Or a little bit of maple syrup or honey. I mean, it's a natural sugar, just to sweeten it up a bit.
Right. So when you see sugars in like fruits, like so a lot of fruits are very good for you, but are high in sugar. Let's say like a banana, or you should make an apple or orange, or whatever.
Banana too.
So that's a natural sugar.
Correct.
But it's still sugar.
Yeah, and the one thing you want to be careful with fruit, is being aware of the glycemic index. Remember, I spoke to you about that.
Yeah.
So what the glycemic index does, it indicates the rate your body breaks down and metabolizes that particular sugar, so to speak. So the ones that are higher up on the scale, say banana, very high glycemically, you're going to get that. Your body's going to metabolize that sugar very quickly for energy, or in this case, to restore glycogen or the sugar levels in your cell if you just did a really hard workout. Before a workout, you want to do sugars that are lower, so there's more of an even. If you think of an IV drip of sugar into your body, right. So one great one would be oranges. I mean, Mike Richter used to be surrounded by orange peels in between periods. Because we spoke about it, it made sense to him, and it worked for him. And then after the game, you want to do a banana, so you replenish your glycogen stores. So you're ready to compete or train again.
I heard some interesting video about bananas. So this doctor, I guess it was a doctor, did a video talking about how you don't want to eat bananas that are ripe. Green bananas are the ones to eat because once they get ripe, they get more sugar in them. Which
again,
makes sense.
It does. Yeah, they're always much more sweeter when they're ripe. But again, what are we looking to do again? So like, in my way of thinking, those are the bananas I want to eat after I train because I'm going to get that glycogen back into my and restore those glycogen levels. So I think if we kind of look at it from that standpoint, yeah, you certainly wouldn't want to do that before you train because you're going to get a big energy rush burst and then you're going to crash. So that's what we're trying to avoid with staying with lower glycemic index. And it's very simple. Just Google it into your computer and it'll give you all the different foods, carbohydrates that have the different glycemic levels.
So again, not all sugars are created equal then.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. It's basically what it boils down to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, on my little chart in my app, I use my FitnessPal, my FitPal. So I chart in all my foods, and they give you a certain amount of sugar that you're allowed to have. There's a certain grams. So you can't really just avoid sugar, right?
No, the two you want to avoid at all costs are anything refined, any refined sugar, which is white sugar, granular sugar, and high fructose corn syrup. Those two you want to avoid like the plague because they're very toxic. It's poison, really, is what it is.
Okay. Brown sugar is better?
Yeah, I would stay away from either any processed sugar. If you want to use sugars, there are alternatives like agave, maple syrup, like I mentioned before, or even honey.
Honey.
Yeah.
What do you think of that monk fruit sweetener? Have you ever used it?
Have not, but it sounds very.
It's supposed to be all natural and everything, right?
Yeah.
But you got to be careful. It is this. I think the package says you use the same amount of monk fruit sweetener that you normally use with with regular sugar. In a recipe. I found that to be wrong. The monk fruit sweetener is way sweeter than regular sugar. So just be careful how much you're putting in.
Yeah, I think for me, when I cook, I don't require sugar. I mean, when I'm making dinner, like I said last night, I used a little bit of sweet chili sauce, and I made sure that there weren't any high fructose corn syrup in it.
Right. What I found too, I've started instead of using salt, I use capers a lot more. And not all capers are
created equal either.
Yeah. There's a lot more salt in some of them. I get mine at Costco and it was a lot lower. So instead I didn't realize it's a fruit and it's very healthy for you too. It's got a lot of antioxidants in it. Yeah.
They're great with fish, great with chicken. And it's tremendous sauce.
I've been trying to put them in. I made an omelet the other day and I put them in omelets. I use jalapeno peppers now too to get flavor. Yeah, it is interesting. If you really try different stuff, you instead of using salt for your flavors, you can use all these different vegetables in there, right? So
yeah. So I mean, again, going back to the glycemic index, it's really important, especially for people that are training, to kind of adhere to that. Be cognizant of that chart and work your.
So again, just plain white sugar, is not it's terrible for you, right?
Push it away forever.
Even so, again, there's so many alternatives and recipes. You can use honey or agave or stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm throwing out my sugar. See, I like this. I'm learning, just when I think I've got a lot better with my diet and learning stuff and everything, but you realize there still is always stuff to learn, right? There's always findings.
Yeah, I mean,
even with eggs, right? Like for eggs for a while, people were down on that. And again, you got to be careful you don't eat too many eggs, but they're a good source of protein too, right?
Incredible. Well, they have the highest bioavailability of any protein you eat. It's 98%, meaning that 98% of that protein you're going to absorb.
Right. And
that's another chart you can look at. Now, the thing about eggs or all this research, Tom, is it's always good to know who's doing the research. Because if the Egg Foundation, their research is going to be favorable to eggs. it's interesting. Way back when, I forget the time period. I think it was in the 60s. There was a doctor in Wisconsin who said that heart disease was caused by fat. There was doctors in Europe that said heart disease is caused by sugar. The sugar industry here lobbied and did everything they could to squelch that. In fact, they funded a study at Harvard Medical. This is in the middle 60s. They gave him $1 million grant, which back then was a tremendous amount of money. And somehow, magically, they came up with the conclusion that it was dietary fats that cause heart disease. Well, we find out later that sugar and dietary fat, if you're going to do sugar, is much, much higher risk to your cardiovascular health than fat. And again, there's different types of fats. You got, good fats and bad fats. But in general, trans fatty acids are. There's another one you want to avoid at all costs, and that's what margarine was. And ironically, back in the 60s and 70s, they were telling heart patients to replace butter with margarine, where they would have been better off with the butter. Trans fatty acids, what they do is they cause a lot of scarring on your arteries and capillaries.
So like muffins and stuff like that got a lot of trans fats in it.
Again, you have to read labels. You have to know what's in your food. So anything that was liquid and they want to solidify, like a margarine, they'll use trans fatty acids to solidify. Yeah, and it's just sharp poison.
It's amazing how so we can stop cigarettes commercials on TV. We used to have cigarette commercials because it's obviously cigarettes have been proven to kill people.
500,000.
But we have all these bad foods, and I guess we know why because of the lobbyists and everything and the big companies. But man, think of all the money we would save. But again, here's another thing: insurance companies and doctors and hospitals and pharmaceutical companies, they want us to be sick because that's how they make their money. So, not having obese people with diabetes would actually hurt a lot of companies.
Patient cured is a customer lost.
Yeah. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
It's such a messed up. And again, I'm not trying to, maybe I am. I mean, it's like a conspiracy almost. Let's get these people fat and out of shape, get them diabetes, and we're going to make some billions of dollars out of it.
I sent an internal video this morning to my close group. And in it, I was talking about how New York Police Department now has lowered their PT standards because they're number one, they have just a flock of guys taking early retirement and leaving the force, and they're having trouble recruiting new men and women to the academies. They actually used to have a 6-foot chain like link fence that you had to get over. Right. They couldn't get over it. They lowered it to where you can basically walk over the damn thing. Right. They're thinking about just completely doing away with the 1.5-mile run.
Really?
Yeah, and it's really a risk to them. It's a risk to the general to the citizens. I think and I hope, Tom, that there's going to be a big swing in this country, a big shift to understanding the police are not the enemy. Right. You've heard this argument for thousands of years. There's a few bad people. Of course there are, but overall, they're there to protect you. And you don't want to be in better shape than the dude that's trying to protect you. Number one, and so it really speaks to we've got to change our thinking here. We've got to actually put more money into law enforcement training because then you'll have less mishaps. Yeah.
Well, it goes back, like you said, it goes back to your initial conversation about the fitness too of everybody. And there's another example where now the police officers won't be as fit and more at risk to get hurt by some criminals, and therefore then they've got to defend themselves and they pull out their service weapon, right? So
I'm old enough, Tom, when I went to school, grade school, right through high school, we had boys' gym. It wasn't co-ed.
Yeah.
And I think when they made that shift, it started to really, I don't want to use the term, I'm going to use it, dumb it down. Because look, we're anatomically different, completely, and that's nature. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to have different strengths and weaknesses. And I think when they started that, and I do I haven't done one in a while, but you do a high school hockey camp or a summer camp, and you get high school players, can they do 1 or 2 pull-ups?
Yeah.
I mean, because what they're doing now in school and phys ed is far removed from actually physical education.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just the overall, like with kids. I mean, here we are again back in the day. Yeah, back in the day. But I mean, growing up on the farm, I was outside all the time. There was nothing. We had 2 channels on TV. There was nothing to watch, so I'm outside. I'm playing with the dog and
doing whatever. You leave the house and you wait for the call that dinner's ready.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 4 kids now. It's just And it's so much easier to be a parent when you just stick the kid in front of a TV or a game,
Or
right? And,
game. Yeah. You
yeah,
see little kids in a car seat, they're babies, they stick a phone in their hand.
yeah,
It's
I know.
starting the addiction off
But
early.
what's ever going to change that though? If anything, it's going to get worse. I think we're just more reliant on equipment, self-driving cars.
Yeah. And that doesn't work out well. There was just an article this morning with a Tesla that drove into I think it was in Florida, into the back of a tractor trailer. Right. And unfortunately, both people were killed, but they're thinking that was another automatic driving mishap.
I hate some of the stuff they have in cars now, like the beeps and buzzing you to get too close to something else. I want to drive the damn car. I don't want to be some equipment. I tell you, I think I saw a video on YouTube or something. That woman's talking about how machines taking over the country, taking over our lives, and literally taking over lives because they're being trained to fix themselves. She went into something, and it's going to get to the point now where they just now are going to turn on us. They need to protect themselves. Yeah. It was really interesting to listen to her talk about it. And it's like, holy crap, it just all makes sense. Yeah.
I read a book, Tom, probably, it's been a while, probably 15 years ago, called The Singularity is Near. It's by Ray Kurzweil. And singularity means when man and machine become one. And his thought was we're pretty close. And he actually has been hired by DOD to, by the year, I think 2035, more than half of the military will be automated. And because he's a Harvard trained scientist, he's a futurist. And it was an interesting book, how it's going to impact us socially, economically, and everything like that. With what he's talking about is we're not far, and probably in our lifetime, we'll see you'll be able to go to the bottom of your pool and sit there for 15 minutes because you can inject yourself, or the doctor can inject yourself with little computers or nanobots that provide oxygen to your system. And it'll change. It'll change athletics. It'll change military. It'll change day-to-day life. But if you think about
if you went back 50 years ago and you thought to yourself of all the things that we have now today, people were going, no way. There's just no chance, right? Like phones and computers.
For me personally, I had my ACL reconstructed in 1984. So it was the big zipper cuts and hardware. I got a screw in my leg. Now it's arthroscopic to redo an ACL, and you might be back on crutches within a few days.
Yeah.
So, and if you think of this time, I was going to say, let's look at baseball, because baseball is a really statistic-driven sport, right? Everything's statistics, which is cool. If you look at, I'm a Major League Baseball player in 1958, 1968 even, and it's a rainy night, and I've got to wear glasses. It's gonna impede my vision. It's gonna affect my batting average. There's no way it doesn't. Now with LASIK, that same ball player may add 10 to 15 points to his batting average because he doesn't have that issue anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't even think about it, but that's the reality. Yeah.
Totally. Ron asked a good question. I want to jump on this one here. Lack of yes, it does. So yeah, it's a proven fact scientifically, and it just there's so many. I've been asked. I live in the town of Greenwich, Connecticut here, and I've been asked by the Greenwich Library to put on some presentations for some people more in our age group. Because they're starting to go to the doctors now, and the doctors are saying to them that, listen, you're 50 years old, your body's just going to start falling apart. And this one woman in particular watches all the stuff that I do, and she says, obviously that's not true. Well, I said, no, it's not. It's if you allow it to happen, if you sit around and just go to the doctor's office all the time, then you're going to be sick and fall apart. But if you eat properly, if you exercise properly, do you have to change your exercises a little bit as you get older? Yeah, I think you do, but still, I think if anything, you get like you've taught me a lot. I've learned a lot more about physical fitness and everything. So it's, I feel like honestly, I had things like my back when I retired. I had the bulging disc in my back. I was due to retire anyways, probably, but I had a terrible back. My back's fine now. Like I've learned how to work out my core and everything. It's the old thing. If I'd known what I know now when I played, I would have played for 20 years, been a much better player, wouldn't have got hurt, or I'd be able to recover from injuries better. It's just that. So yes. So Ron, yes, if you don't work out, if you don't stay active, if you don't eat healthy, I view it the same way. So if you want to be healthy, you put proper foods in your body and you treat your body properly. You love your body. If you want to be healthy mentally, it's the same thing. You put the right thoughts in your mind. You talk to the right people. You don't turn the TV off. Don't listen to the news. If negative people in your world, you're just going to have to say, listen, if you want to be that negative, you're going to have to move on, go someplace else.
Take it down the road. I had two things on that. I mean, like I'm suffering right now. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow with a sports hernia. This is probably the worst it's ever been.
Oh.
You know, from ripping groin skating over the years, you start to, what happens is the ligaments that attach to your hip get really angry and they can actually pull off. So you gotta be careful. But it's been virtually impossible because the first remedy is 7 to 10 days of rest.
Yeah.
Well, that's not just going to happen. I feel a little better that I'm doing my thing. But there's a friend of mine, Kent Carlson. I don't know if you remember Kent. He played for the Canadians and the Blues.
Yeah, sure.
Real nice guy, super dude. And trying to help him along, trying to put something together for him because he's really he really wants to get at it and get in great shape. So I asked him to send me a list of his injuries, and I went, well, okay, this can be a challenge. You know, he's got a lot of stuff going on, shoulders, and he's got all kinds of injuries. But even with that, I'm showing him a way it can get done.
Sure, yeah.
You just got to work around it, you know.
Yeah.
This morning I put out a video about grip strength. And grip strength is one of the things that we don't really think about when we do our training. We think about everything but our grip strength. And when you really realize the longer you can hang, the longer you can live. And the first thing to give out is your grip strength. And it's great for, I mean, if you're a hockey player, if you don't have good, everybody's going to whack the stick out of your hands. You're just going to tap it, it's gone, right?
It's true.
And then even, you know, so it's really important in combat when you're grabbing and tugging and pulling. Or again, like let's say you got to pull somebody out of a river. If you don't have good grip strength, that tie's going to pull them down the stream. Yeah. So I put a video of some stuff to do. And again, it's a modality that you can use. There's varying ways to do it if you have injuries. So let's say you have bad elbows and you can't do a lot of rotation with your wrists. Well, there's gripping, you know, like put your hands in sand and just keep gripping. Yeah. So there's always a way to get it done.
Yeah. It is funny, right? When you go to things like when I was trying to for Survivor, they did all kinds of testing on it, physical and mental testing. So they listen and say, okay, how many surgeries do you have? Well, let me see. So you start going through the list and they're looking at you like, what? And then they had us do this one as a test, this crawl, you know, where you get your hands down, your butt's up in the air, and you do this crawl, like they call it a bear crawl or something like that. Well, I broke both my wrists, so they don't bend backwards. So when I do
bear alligator crawl,
so I have to put my fist down, and so I'm on the cement floor. But I've done it for so long, you know, the knuckles are all worn. So these young kids out in LA, I'm doing it on my knuckles, and they're going, we've really never seen anybody do that before like that. I said, well, it's not that I'm that tough. It's just that I can't bend my wrist backwards. So it is funny because you just live with it all your life. Yeah.
Pretty much how they do it in martial arts because you want to toughen up your hands. So you do your knuckle push-ups. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a knuckle dragger, like some of us, I won't mention names, and you don't even have to worry about it.
That's funny stuff. Yeah.
So the grip strength is really important. And how many people actually dedicate 2 to 3, like 10 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week to grip strength? And it's really critical. It really is critical.
Sure. So what, doing wrist curls and stuff like that?
Yeah. So what I demonstrated this morning is doing hammer curls. Now hammer curls are great because they're on the, you know, the primary move is your bicep, but then as you come up, it's all forearm. And then what I would generally do, Tom, is I do 8 or 10 reps of hammer curls. And at the end, I just let my arms hang and you uncurl it. You open up your hand and bring it back and you're rotating the weight. And you don't even count reps. You just do it till it burns, then do 10 more. You can also take like a hammer, like a lump hammer. You know, it's like a sledgehammer, but it's a little guy, or a sledgehammer, either one. And you hold it out. Let's see if I get my hand in the right spot. Hold it out like this, and hold it here. Rotate it forward and back. And this is really hitting the top here, which is critical. Because most of the time we're working the inside here when we're doing a rip, but this forces you to do this, and you're using the top. So it's I saw a guy this weekend who was actually using bands from an isosceles triangle firing position with a gun. So he's like this, and he's doing reps. The reason is you want to get really strong here and reduce muzzle flip when you're firing a weapon. So that's what he was doing. I thought it was pretty cool. But it's all forearm strength.
So here's our good friend William Contradidiac. Thomas had good strength. All right. So I
Yeah.
don't want to be telling tales out of school, but on Thursday, Ron Gresham and I interviewed that Tim Peel, the referee that got fired. He was a great guy. He really cleared the story up about what happened and everything. Now, Bill Contract there has been telling everybody that they're like best friends. Timmy Peel and him are like best friends. So I asked Tim, and Tim's like, "Do you mean that guy from New Jersey? Like, you barely knew him. Like, he was." So I don't want to stir the pot or anything like that. That's not my style. But I'm just saying.
Just saying. Yeah.
Just saying.
So
go ahead, brother.
No, well, no, I'm a little bit off topic, but being a former agent for all those years, what did Shane Wright do to piss everybody off in the interviews?
It's a great question. So Shane Wright, sure everybody knows, was just drafted this past draft for the NHL. He was ultimately drafted by Seattle, but everybody on the planet thought he was going to be going first overall to Montreal. And I guess I did not see this, but Susan Brooks, who follows a lot of shows, claimed that when he did not get drafted first overall, he gave him the death stare. Did you see that?
He walked right by their table and went,
right?
Which
I love that.
I kind of want to draft that guy. I want to draft that guy. Yeah,
for an 18-year-old kid, and now he got himself into trouble saying about how pissed he was, which kind of made it look like he didn't want to go to Seattle. I don't believe that's what he meant. He probably wasn't aware.
Right.
I think it's more he wanted to be first overall. But it's strange. At the draft, everybody typically it goes the way everybody thought it was going to go, especially with the first couple of picks. But it's funny. It's just teams and this past 2-3 drafts ago, Steve Eisman in Detroit drafted that big defenseman that ultimately won the Rookie of the Year, Snyder.
Oh, right.
But I actually watched the documentary talking about prior to the draft and after the draft, before the kid played, how everybody was like, "Why did he draft him?" Everybody thought he's not the guy to pick there, and Steve Eisman obviously know what he did. This kid now is a stud. So it's
Panarin wasn't even drafted, right?
Right.
Panarin.
Marty St. Louis had a shoulder his whole career, and he was never drafted. Lots of guys who were late picks. I mean, look at Datsuk and Zetterberg in Detroit were 6th and 7th round draft picks. So you never know. And the reason why somebody may not pick them, you don't know. Is it a bad interview? They didn't like the kid's attitude. The good thing about it too, everybody's got their own opinions. There's some guys like I would not, like in Edmonton this year when they signed Evander Kane. I would not have done that. I think Kenny Holland's one of the best GMs in the league, but he went ahead and did, and the kid ended up being a pretty good player for him. So,
yeah. Sometimes it just works out that way, and I think we also have to remember we're talking about 18-year-old kids in the draft.
Yeah,
they're kids.
It's a crap.
Did you ever hear Terry Ryan speak in his interview?
Yes, I was with IMG. We represented Terry Ryan
when he interviewed with Mike Milbury.
Oh no! What was that? I maybe heard the story. What was it?
Yeah, so he goes in and he sits down. And Milbury says, "We're not going to draft you, but I just want to talk to you about Landeskog. I guess they played junior together or something. I don't know if it was Landeskog. It was another player. We're going to draft him, but And he said, but I got to ask you. I don't know if I can say this on there. I'll tell you off air what he asked. But it's pretty clever. Yeah.
I remember I heard this story. I can't remember how it went down. There's a good question here by Ron Jameson. Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel you fulfilled your potential during your playing career? Time left on ice. You know what? That's a great question, John. Seriously. If you had asked me that before I got going on all this True Grit Life stuff, I probably would have said, you know what? I was pretty happy. I do realize now that I could have got more out of my career. Again, there's some stuff we just didn't know back then. Like we never talked about core or anything like that. But I would say like early in my career, like my first 5 years. So I played every game my first 4 years, except 2 games. And both Herb Brooks wanted to rest me at the end of my second season and the end of my 4th season, just for a random game. Or otherwise, I would have played every game my first 4 years, which would have been pretty cool. But I think Herbie kind of did that. That was one of Herbie's things. But so up until, and then my 5th year, I ruptured my spleen and missed 6 weeks. So up until that point where I ruptured my spleen, I played through everything. I had a torn tricep muscle. Mark, it's not like it's only me. Yep. Everybody that plays does that. It's, twisted ankles, broken bones and stuff. And you play through all that. And that was a source of pride for me, that I was not a great player. I was a guy that showed up every day, no matter what. And like Herb Brooks would come down to the end of the bench, a big moment late in the game, up a goal and trying to kill a penalty, whatever. And he would never come down and ask me if I was okay. I could be bleeding, whatever. He would just kick me. He literally kicked me in the rear end and say, get the F out there. And that was a source of pride for me because I knew that he wanted me on the ice, no matter what shape I was in, no matter how tired I was, no matter how hurt I was. And that was me. That's
the biggest compliment a player can get.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I ruptured my spleen and then started this, I missed 6 weeks with a ruptured spleen. Then the next year I come back and I hurt my back. Man, that really is like, you don't know what's going on in your mind. You just, again, now I can look back at it. It all kind of makes sense. But especially with the back, the spleen, okay, well, I ruptured my spleen. I was like, I can't play until I'm healed and then I play. But when it hurts your back, you go off the rink and your back doesn't hurt. Then you go skate and it hurts. So you say, and then you lose. It's like I lost a piece of who I was, like that guy that could battle through everything, So I think that kind of changed my career. And then it was kind of in and out, line up and getting traded. Then the back would get better and get worse again. And again, looking back at it, the back issue was my fault. If I had trained differently, I wouldn't have had a back problem. Or if I did, I would have recovered quickly. So in one side, Ron, I'm very proud of my career. 11 years in the NHL, it was great. I was a captain, assistant captain. I won Players Player Award a couple of times, unsung hero, best defenseman, all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy with that. But God, I wish. I looking back, I wish I just knew things more and handled myself different, my conditioning, but yeah. So it goes.
Bottom line is, you did at that given point in history of where we are, what we know now, and what we knew then. Yeah, you did phenomenally well.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, I was proud. Yeah, it's funny. I've seen some videos lately. There was a video where we're playing a playoff series against the Islanders, and Bobby Nystrom came in and gave me the forearm shiver right in the jaw and spent the night in the hospital. Got knocked me out cold, and I got knocked down. And Jim Gordon and Phil Esposito were doing the game on TV, and I was down. It was late in the game, and Jim Gordon goes, Laidlaw's down, or Tommy's down. He hurt Tommy, and he goes, "That's a hard man to hurt." Oh, he said that about me. I just was so fired up, like, that's a hard man to hurt. And there's my father had told me the story when I was out in LA. Scotty Bowman wasn't coaching at the time. He was doing color commentating. We were in Calgary playing a game, I believe it was. For some strange reason, I'm carrying the puck down the ice and I go to cut towards the net. The goalie comes out and I go flying over the goaltender into the boards. And the play-by-play guy goes, I don't know who that is, but he's not getting up from that. And Scotty Bowman he says, no, that's Laidlaw. He gets up. He always gets up.
That's awesome.
And my father saw that, and that was his proudest moment. Like he was in tears telling me that. So
that's a great story. That's good stuff.
Good stuff.
So
all right, good again, brother. You're good.
All right, man. No. Just had a meeting with Bill Friday. We met down in Highlands, New Jersey, with Don John Marine. We got the hydraulics better for you this year on the boat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I met with Pat, who was our guy last year, and so it's getting closer. I mean, it's only a couple of weeks now, so we're really cranking up. There was one more test swim this past Saturday, and then I believe August 2nd we're going to do one final dial-in swim just to make sure there's no surprises, and then August 6th everybody gets wet and to swim.
Good. So again, that's August 6th, the swim across the Hudson that Bill Brown puts on. Good friend of Mark's a friend of mine, but great guy. Total character guy, does a lot to help us. Fourth year they'll have it. There'll be a couple hundred guys. And again, I know I keep saying it, but if you get a chance to either go to Liberty State Park, we'll let you know when it's going to start. It changes all the time because of the tides. And it's just a fantastic event. Then Lower Manhattan, after they swim across the Hudson, it's a very patriotic show. I was going to say fun, but it's not necessarily a fun thing. It's just more inspiring. And whatever. Before I forget too, we got talking about stuff right away. Mark has a company called Patriot Training Systems. You can get a hold of him on his website, Patriot Training Systems, or you can contact him on Facebook as well. Trains everybody. If you need help virtually or going out to him, he trains everybody: military personnel, women, kids. And actually, he's very knowledgeable. I've learned a lot from Mr. Mark Puttenfink. Mark and I didn't know each other. Mark had actually worked for the Rangers many years ago, and he was posting some videos. And I think you mentioned my name or something one time. And I thought, I'll contact this guy. He's worked for the Rangers. So, cool. All right, brother. Now we're like brothers now.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's damn sure.
Definitely. All right, brother. Good job. See you next week.
Have a good one.